It seems like every other day that we see a high-profile athlete in either college or professional sports in the news for the wrong reasons, often committing crimes that would land normal people in jail. So how is it fair that an athlete can be pardoned for being a terrible person just because of his physical gifts? Oregon star LaMichael James was charged with menacing, strangulation, and assault, and was arrested, put on trial, and at the end, he was sentenced to only 10 days of jail time. You know how much time of that he served? None. Instead, he was suspended for one football game and required to wear an electronic surveillance device. Star running back Chris Rainey of the University of Florida was named a suspect in 5 times while in Gainesville, yet he only faced charges once. He was accused of stalking, fighting, and misuse of explosives, but his record remained relatively clean.
Alright, and if you look at our nice little graphic over here, according to Outside the Lines, there's over 100 cases where the subject in question was a repeat offender. And looking at the graphs, this falls on the players, but mostly on the program, the coaches, for allowing this to continue to happen.
Recently, a star left tackle, Cam Robinson, was caught with possession of marijuana and illegal firearms. His case was dropped because having the gun in his car and having fingerprints on it didn't give enough evidence to convict him. The prosecutor said, "I refuse to ruin the lives of 2 young men who have spent their adolescence and their teenage years working and sweating while we were all home in the air conditioning." But how does that teach him a lesson? When they could have at least punished him enough so that he may have salvaged his football career. So the question that plagues our society, as a sports-loving nation, is why do we let them get away with it? What about our society is allowing these athletes to act above the law? And the simple answer to that is we value entertainment more than we value the development of our young adults. We are willing to turn a blind eye to inexcusable behavior just so we can sit down with our chips and salsa and watch the big game. We make excuses about how they just made a mistake or they worked too hard, so to have it all taken away from them. So the first thing we have to do as a society to fix this issue is we can't be bystanders and let it happen. Second, it would take an effort from the law to not let these athletes finagle their way out of punishment, and have judges that reprimand these players fairly as they would the average Joe.
If we continue to endorse this as a society, it will continue to happen. Even though these athletes are under a lot of pressure, they are served everything on a golden platter. Their meals are paid for, their college is paid for, and they get a chance to play the sport they love instead of wasting their prime years working a desk job. As student athletes ourselves, we understand that there is pressure and the workload becomes harder when you lose an entire day to a practice. That doesn't carry over to being a delinquent, however. These are not the people young kids need to look up to and idolize. So if they won't change their behavior, we will have to get them out. Either way, we get better.